politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was alive. The president never gave me any deadline.
Delight as always to be here on Global Morning. This is Global Television. We are in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. We thank you for making that very important decision to spend the next 3 or so hours with us here today. On the program, it's a great Tuesday, well, third day of the week, second working day of the week, and what more can I say? It's a great opportunity to just align, or in some cases realign, big conversations across the country and a little beyond this morning. The interesting thing is every other time, every 1 hour, every 30 minutes, in some cases, stories just evolve and become developing issues, and as such, we only continue to have conversations about these developments. Some of those conversations are in front of us this morning, many of them having to do with humanitarian concerns, others, well, faith and states, that sort of thing. In all, the challenge is how leadership helps to stir these issues. So we're going to begin from a bit beyond our shores this morning on the program in terms of the two very big conversations that we've lined up today. First of all, we're going to be looking at the Gaza situation, what is happening on the ground real time now, beyond the noise that we find in the news. Well, what exactly is happening with the plan proposed by President Donald Trump once he took office, all right, about the proposal to disperse, some people say resettle, Gazans in basically 2 countries, Egypt and Jordan. Of course, as expected, the international community generally has kicked against that. And then Gazans themselves and the region have said, look, this ain't going to work. So that plan, that proposal is not just controversial. Some people will argue that it is talk right now. But even before all of that and beyond this, you realize that the humanitarian condition or situation on the ground in Gaza has not essentially improved, at least not in significantly remarkable ways, given that the truce between Hamas and Israel has not been as smooth as one would have thought or as agreed upon. Yes, the last couple of weeks we've seen some sort of swap happen between both sides. We've seen Israeli hostages being released, we've seen prisoners also being let off by the Israeli authorities. Overall, do these actions, do these moves fall short of expectations? Do they align squarely with the understanding, with the truce that has been reached between Hamas and Israel? And then you stretch it a little further and look at what exactly are the extraneous elements in this conversation. What are the foreign influences driving the narrative and indeed the direction of these developments right there in the Middle East in general, and particularly as it has to do with Gaza, which involves Hamas and Israel. And some say it's curious, it's interesting how that we tend to talk even more about Hamas and Israel as against Palestine and Israel. Well, there are those who believe that you can't separate Hamas from Palestine, but what exactly are the issues? What must be done going forward to resolve this issue, find at least a semblance of peace in not just Gaza, but the entire Middle East? Because it's a situation of Gaza sneezing and the entire region, all of those countries around it actually catching cold. So that's one talk that we have lined up this morning. A second one is, one that comes much closer to home. That has to do with faith and nation, or if you like, faith and country. Nigeria has been adjudged a very religious nation over time, whether back at home or beyond the shores of this great country, from Christianity to Islam to traditional worship and what have you in between. Nigeria is one country where people bring religion, bring faith to whatever it is that they do, even to the workplace, even though that sometimes tends to overstep. But in all, it is almost practically impossible, all right, to divorce between the everyday, typical, conventional, quintessential Nigerian from their faith or their belief system. However, there have been concerns, as a matter of fact, questions over time have been raised as to how much do Nigerians bring the essence, the core elements of their faith to what they do. For example, you're an artisan, you're a professional, you're a career person, you're a business person. How much does your faith, does your belief system rub off on the way you do business, the way you relate with your colleagues, with your business partners, with your clients, with your customers? How much do we bring ethics, all right? Well, some people say best practice, to how we do business, to how we approach our work, how we relate with our subordinates, with our superiors, with our equals, and all of that. And then you stretch it a notch further and ask yourself, how much do we bring our faith, our religion, to the way we provide leadership in the civic or the political space? Whether you're the president of the country, you are a governor in any of the 36 states, you are a minister, you are a legislator, federal, state, or local, you are appointed commissioner, special advisor, special assistant, minister, aid of any kind. How much do we bring all of these into how we serve, all right, at whatever level, in any capacity? Because as it stands today, there are controversies, there are debates about some states, particularly within the northwest of the country, that have now said schools should shut for 5 weeks on account of Ramadan. Now, let's be clear for those who may not be aware. Ramadan is a significant aspect of the Islamic faith. All right, so it's not surprising that the last few days you will hear about Ramadan fasts, you hear about Ramadan sessions, you see videos, you see different interactive sessions going on about Ramadan. Now, you see politicians even going on to say that Ramadan is a time for Nigerians and indeed those in leadership to do this, to do that. And you see Muslims being urged, being encouraged to bring their faith to bear in the way they serve, in the way they are patriotic about Nigeria, and so on and so forth. And it's going to be Easter very soon. It's going to be Christmas at some point. It's going to be Salah at some point. And you're going to see all of this talk. You're going to hear them about how that Christians must do this, Christians must bring this, Christians must behave like this, they must carry themselves like that, they must pray for the country, they must put the country first. We hear that every other time. But if we were to measure this morning on the program, on a scale of 10, for instance, how much do we drive this narrative in ways that are practical and apply to our faith, to our belief system, and apply to the way we serve our country? Because whether you like it or not, today one of Nigeria's biggest monsters is corruption. Yet the people who have been taken to courts over issues of corruption, issues of graft, whether these cases have been proven beyond mere allegations or not, for the most part are either Christians or Muslims. They either go to church or they worship in a mosque. Therefore, how do we address the gulf that does exist between faith in Nigeria and service to the motherland or service to the nation? And then, of course, you are also asking yourself, how do we use that as a vehicle to drive national unity and bond better as a government across party lines, regardless of partisan affiliation? And then as a people, regardless of tribe, ethnicity, and what have you, and then as a community. We're taking a quick break now so we can catch our breath for a second. When we return, these conversations will continue. Do stay with us.
know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
All right, we're going to jump right into the papers in a second. But Queen Agaba is in Abuja studio with me. So
it sounds like I've been in the London studio and I'm back.
Well, what more can we say? We are delighted that you're here.
Thank you. Good morning. Well done.
All right, so let's turn to the papers quickly. We begin with the blueprint for you this morning. Top of the nameplate of it, it says reps okay 250 billion naira budget for Southeast Development Commission. When these development commissions started springing up, one of the first fears that some Nigerians expressed was the challenge of funding, but it appears the federal government is trying to prove naysayers wrong now by starting out on this note. But we do hope that beyond budgeting, real-time releases will be done. It's wanted to budget or earmark fund, but it's a different kettle of fish for the funds to be available for projects execution. And then there's a headline here with a picture of the chairman of the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired. He says how NDLEA arrested wanted international drug baron in Lagos. He did have a press conference about this issue and many other thorny issues yesterday. CBN to withdraw 650 billion naira from circulation as TBs falls 3.5%. That's Treasury bills falling 3.5% amidst CBN's withdrawal of 650 billion naira from circulation. Then we have a bit of sports from the blueprint this morning. The kicker says on the 20 AFCON, Flying Eagles embark on break to resume campaign March 10. That's in barely 1 week time. Star headline reads, tension heightens in Rivers, Khan returns to Lagos Assembly. All right. One end of the country is enjoying at least relative calm or something that looks like it. And another one is witnessing palpable tension. Such an irony to think this is coming on the heels of the Supreme Court judgment that has nullified the election conducted for local councils there last year. Fubara gets 48-hour ultimatum to present 2025 budgets. That's the Maiwule-led House now giving him 48 hours to represent, because recall that the the governor had presented this budget. It had been passed by the former assembly, but now there's a new sheriff in town, as they say. Wants people to take their destiny in their own hands. I'm not scared of impeachment, Governor boasts. That's Simina Laye Fubara there. Miranda steps down, Obasa returns as speaker. Naira stability, dovish inflation boosts consumers' demand. And then we'll take it further down a little. Boko Haram abducts Biu, Army, Varsity Professor, others. Quite a sad tale again of kidnapping there coming up. All right. What's more, at the very foot of the paper, front page, Ramadan, Kebbi reduces working hours for civil servants. Yes, the governor made that announcement yesterday, and now it says the idea is so that Muslims can participate better in the Ramadan. Okay, so let's see what more we have elsewhere. Those are the headlines for you from the blueprint this morning. The Vanguard is our next port of call.
On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, big story there we have says, Rivers crisis, I'm not scared of anything, says Governor Fubara. The riders there say the worst that can happen is leaving office, assures of government's victory in ongoing crisis, charges Rivers people to take their destinies in their hands. I want to believe this is a typo because we have sans there. As Amawule-led assembly gives him 48 hours to present budget, local LGA chairman hands over to HLGA. Above the nameplates, we have NNPCL, Dangote's price reduction excites petrol retailers. Lagos Assembly, Obasa returns Merenda out. And then we have Akpoti Uduagan, no formal petition against Akpabio, says the Senate. Federal government insures airports assets for 1.97 billion naira, according to the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo there. We have a big picture here. Tinubu receives Sierra Leone's bill. And then we have the picture of President Bola Tinubu and the President of Sierra Leone there. Also, we have Obi Achimamanda's book launch. Okay, that picture there, that explains the picture we have there as well. And then we also have Ramadan. Catholic bishops ask federal government to halt school closures. It's time to rescue PDP from imminent collapse, concerned stakeholders. And we have Nigeria loses trillions to illegal miners, says the federal government. In the news a few days ago, I think there were miners that were intercepted that were traveling from, I think, one of the states, the north to Niger State, or to the Federal Capital Territory, I think it's the FCT, for labor, mining activities, illegal mining activities, and that they were promised paid labor, when they work and all of those, but they were illegal miners. And I like that action is being taken to ensure that people are not exploited in that manner for something that is even illegal. And but it's sad to know that the federal government, Nigeria, loses trillions to these miners and their activities. So the federal government here says Nigeria loses trillions to illegal miners. Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Vanguard. Okay, on sports, we have beating Rwanda, that's 2026 WCQ, beating Rwanda away, always difficult for Super Eagles, according to Daisy. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Our next point of call should be the Punch.
All right, let's take a look at the Punch real quick. We'll begin with the star headline. Has a kicker, Lagos Assembly. How Akonde-led panel forced Miranda out, reinstated Obasa. One rider with that headline. Uncertainty surrounds Assembly leadership as APC GAC members allay fears. And then if we bring it down a little now, bottom left, it reads NNPCL stations have reduced petrol price to 860 naira per litre. That's credited to marketers. Residents lament as Disco plunges Lagos Air Force Base into 12-day blackouts. Well, I'm sure the Air Force is a consumer of energy like anyone else. So they are apparently being treated as the consumer that they are, like they would treat Queen Agaba or Yagmofwebe. But again, when these things happen, emotionally we want to quickly say, why would you leave an Air Force base? All right, exactly, an outage, power outage for a 12-day period. That sounds like eternity. But the question is, are the discos not profit-oriented? All right, don't they need money to run their businesses, to keep their businesses afloat? Air Force, Army, Navy, Police, NSCDC, Customs, and the rest not consuming, not consumers? Are they not supposed to pay for the service? Sometimes when you hear how much these guys are owing, you just have your hair strands standing on ends because of the volume over time, and how that when you do the aggregate of all of this, you realize that they run into hundreds of billions. Some people even say upwards of $1 trillion. And if you have this sort of obligation not being discharged, and to cap it all off, it's as if no effort is being made to clear these debts or to at least defray them over time. You're wondering where it leaves the distribution companies themselves. Excuse me. And as you can imagine, these distribution companies need this money to keep afloat. So on the one hand, we're dealing with energy theft, we're dealing with vandalism and several other factors. On the other hand, you have consumers who are not
from,
paying. The other time it was the University College Hospital, UCH in Ibadan. And that raised the concern of what do we do as an alternative? Should teaching hospitals, federal medical centers now have independent power plants? Should we also extend that to universities, particularly federal universities? Because beyond the Naira and Kobo element in this conversation, everyone, it's embarrassing that an Air Force base in a country like Nigeria,
and
in
Lagos,
2025, Lagos, Center of Excellence, Nigeria's commercial nerve center, not having light for not 12 hours, for 12 whole days, we are still not done.
And I'm sure you know how Air Force centers are. They're usually, I don't know if this is the barracks or
more like maybe even more than
so
the barracks.
Schools in
it's an entire facility. Yes,
we have schools. We usually have hospitals in these places. Very essential places that offer essential services. So I want to imagine, what it's going to be like with this power blackout.
It's a community of its own.
Exactly.
Right. So how do you drive life there without power? Well, your answer, as they say, is as good as mine. FG avoiding confrontation with governors over mining sites. That's credited to Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake. By the way, this week he has received the French ambassador to Nigeria, and these were some of the issues that they also discussed. But you see, mining in Nigeria is probably the big elephant in the room. Because there are just some parts of it you're trying not to talk about, you're trying not to annoy some people, you're trying not to open old wounds, you're just trying to avoid so much. And just to put that in perspective, in this same country, Dr. Dele Alake, the Solid Minerals Development Minister, had said to senators that, look, there are powerful Nigerians behind illegal mining in Nigeria. I mean, that's the man who mans the ministry talking. So what more can you say about that? And then just recently, very recently, a former governor in this country, now is senator, serving senator, former chairman of the ruling All Progressives Congress, did say that retired generals, recall that Alake had said powerful Nigerians. That was a bit ambiguous or, if you like, generic. But this was more specific. It says retired generals. It didn't say Nigerians. Retired generals are behind all of these illegal money that we're seeing in this country. These are prominent Nigerians. These are influential Nigerians talking. All of them still serving. One of them serving in the executive arm of government. Another one serving in the legislature. So this should give us concern. So the question is, since Mr. Alake made that statement, and now that Oshomole has followed up with his own, we can say, yes, there are allegations. But what are you supposed to do with allegations? I know you're not a lawyer, at least just yet. But what are you supposed to do with allegations?
It's supposed to be properly investigated.
Right. So my phone is missing. And somebody in the city says, well, I'm not so sure, but the last person I saw with that phone was Queen Agapa. What are we supposed to do? Say, Queen, don't be offended. Did you see one kind of phone? Of course, it's now going to be her word against my word, but at least let's start from there. Who is investigating as it stands right now? We say, well, they're just political statements, they were just grandstanding and blah, blah, blah. But they say there's no smoke without fire.
Without fire.
All right, let's put in some fire into our presentation of the paper headlines for you this morning. We take it a notch higher on the front page of the Punch, top right, with a picture of the ever-embattled governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara. It says, Rivers budgets, Fubara Assembly set for fresh showdown. Governor alerts supporters. What will supporters do? Well, budget must be presented, so I don't know what the role of supporters will be. Are they going to come to support you while you're presenting budgets or cheer you on? What will they do? But budget must be presented. These are constitutional issues. Politics has its own the extent to which it can get, but you must present budgets. Ramadan, Kebbi, Bauchi, Kano, Rebuff, Khan say schools remain closed. FG NNPCL work out 7.7 trillion naira fuel subsidy debt payments. Well, subsidy is one story that never ends. Lastly, one with a picture of President Bola Tinubu. It reads, FEC approves 734 billion naira for Oyo Ogbomosho road orders. Okay, that's what we'll leave it on the Punch newspaper. we'll now move on to our next paper, and that will be, let's see what we have. The Nation newspaper, yes.
Yes, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, big story, still the rivers crisis. Confrontation breaks out between FUBARA and lawmakers. And then we have, above the nameplate, NNPCL slashes petrol price to 860 naira in Lagos, 880 naira in Abuja. 1.9 billion naira insurance cover for assets, personnel at federal airports. And then we have why control of illegal mining is difficult by Dele Alake. And then Abure-led Labour Party rejects NLC's merger talks call. House gives governor 48 hours to submit 2025 appropriation bill. Obasa returns as Lagos House Speaker. Miranda takes chair as deputy. Well, we have Natasha's allegation. Nobody can force Akpabio out, says King Dakolo. You find that story on page.
Okay, I think I need to
react to that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm going to react, but I'm interested that this is coming from King Dakolo. And it's not the first. We always hear this. You find people from the person's region, you find people of the same gender as the person, people of the same faith, people who share something with that person coming out to say, we want to support our own, want to rally around our own. Yes, support is natural. I mean, it just comes organically. However, we must also ask ourselves, what are the issues? It's not about whether somebody is going to force somebody else, really, but what are the issues at stake? How should those issues be addressed? We understand the Natasha Akpabio issue has now assumed a legal dimension. All right, it's become a subject of litigation. However, there are also human angle aspects to it. There's also the political angle to it. Questions have been asked about how did we even get here in the first instance from what only seemed like an issue over seating arrangements. And we understand that the seating arrangement has always been there. It's not the first time people will be moved from one seat to another. Some persons had even long decided to say, look, I don't even want to sit in front. I don't want to sit in the middle. I want to be at the back. And nobody has fought them about it. For example, every time I see the Senate floor, particularly during plenary, I see immediate past Senate President Lawal sitting behind. Sometimes it's almost as it were, not very conspicuous, so to say. Then you also find other senators who, we saw David Mark do that at some point back in the day and all of that. So what's the point here? The point here is you're asking yourself, is this really all about seating arrangement?
Or there is more to it?
Exactly. But were there already pent up issues, pent up emotions and sentiments that this just only became an opportunity to blow the lead open?
Yeah, I think there were issues before the seating arrangement. I mean, Senator Natasha Akpoti has come out,
about the harassment allegations,
and all that. So I think it's a build-up of all of those things.
All of those issues.
And then the seating arrangement is just at the surface.
Okay, well, I'm glad Queen and I are not having issues about seating arrangement. I mean, everybody's seat is cut out for them. Okay,
absolutely.
But let's see what more we have.
Yeah, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Nation newspaper. Our next point of call will be The Guardian.
Okay, so let's see The Guardian for you. Guardian is quite a handful of headlines this morning. The big one has a rider that says, Ramadan, uproar as Bauchi, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi shots out 11.5 million school children. It's a big conversation going on right now. Then above that, Nigerians enjoy subsidized fuel as NNPC Dangote engage in price war. I mean, that's quite a paradox. NNPC and Dangote are in a price war. Nigerians enjoy subsidized fuel. Well, what can we say? Maybe that's one of the fallouts of competitiveness.
Yeah, this time.
Right. Okay. Edo Election Tribunal reserves judgments on PDP's petition. On the right corner of the front page of today's issue of the Guardian newspaper, picture of the candidate of the People's Democratic Party in Lagos governorship election in 2023. Let's see, Jandor. Here it says Jandor dumps PDP, accuses Bode George, party chairman, of frustrating ambition. Household consumption dips despite rising nominal income. Why is that? Find details on page 15 of The Guardian today. FG approves 11 new private universities. Is this that point where the Yoruba man will say, "Okpo, right?" Yeah. People have said, well, excuse me, what Nigeria needs at this point is not more universities.
Yeah.
It is better funding, better regulation, empowerment of those who run these universities, complete autonomy of university leadership or authority, and all of that. But the question is, even if you were to address all of these issues I just enumerated, would they be far-reaching enough to address the issues of our university education system in this country? Now that you have 11 more approved, what does it really mean? Does it mean more people will have access to university education? Will it be more affordable? Exactly. Well, some people say, yes, it will be. At least access will be easier because of NEL Fund. Just to mention that the MD or the DG of NEL Fund was here just last week, Friday, to also address some of these issues as they continue to plague Nigeria's tertiary education system. A party power prevails as Miranda resigns. Obasa returns in Lagos Assembly shakeup. You know, the man said he was going to return. And some person said he was grandstanding. But I think to a large extent he has altered the tradition, because it's almost it has almost never been the case that a sitting or serving Speaker of a State House of Assembly is impeached and then he returns. To even think that the man was not in Africa when he was impeached. He was somewhere in Georgia in the United States. And then he returns and says he would be reinstated. And just yesterday, less than 24 hours ago, his, bragging rights were enforced, if you ask me. But then, in between, we have to put you in the spot for a second, Agaba. People were saying, for the first time, let's have a woman speaker in Lagos House of Assembly and all of that. Do you feel disappointed? She resigned. Don't forget, she was not forced out.
But we know that we know the circumstances that must have taken place for her to resign. I mean, she wasn't willing to resign initially. You think that she was forced? She was coerced? I think so, because for someone making a statement like "I will," be reinstated, I will come back with every confidence, that he was going to be back, and just yesterday he was reinstated. It means that he was ready, no matter what he was going to take, he was ready to come back and take back that seat as Speaker of House of Assembly. So, would I say I'm disappointed? To an extent, yes, because would have been, looking forward to what Miranda would have done as the Speaker, looking forward to, that would have been more bragging rights for women, having the first Speaker, of the Lagos State House of Assembly. But regardless, we look out for, she's now the deputy, but we hope that more women will take up positions like that.
I thought you were going to say regardless we move.
We moved though.
but quite frankly, Obasa's case from the very start, which he maintained the whole time, was that the process that sought to his impeachment was not duly followed. Yes, they didn't align with due process and all of that. That was the argument he held until from the very start. And who knows, maybe that also, for the most part, exactly, yes, powered what now culminated in his reinstatement yesterday. But let's move on for a second. Still looking at the Guardian newspaper. Here it says, Natasha, that's a kicker there. CSO's plan protest, seek Akpabio's resignation as monarch seeks or backs Senate president. U.S. tariffs on Canada, Mexico to go ahead Tuesday. That's today. America really hasn't woken up right now. But let's see what happens when businesses begin to jump off. I said, let's see what happens in the voice of Donald Trump. That's a constant line for him. All right. LP rules out merger ahead of 2027, rejects NLC interference. Is that realistic? Yes, you may say you don't want to merge going into the 2027 general election cycle, but can you really split the Labour Party from the NLC? Because the Labour Party, from what we understand, is the brainchild, in a manner of speaking, of the Nigeria Labour Congress. So if the Nigeria Labour Congress, for example, believes that there has to be a merger for Labour to stand a better chance to compete favorably, as they say in business, going into the election in 2027, to what extent can the Labour Party leverage, all right, its own clouds to say, no, we don't want any interference of any kind, we don't want intervention from the Nigeria Labour Congress?
Well, I think the Labour Party, quite frankly, it's going to be difficult to take out the NLC from the Labour Party, because we know how far, they've come. And then, but if the Labour Party decides and says, you know what, in 2027 we don't want any merger, we want to, I think that's fine. I think it doesn't take away the fact that I personally think that the Labour Party can thrive without the involvement of the NLC, even though, there's a saying that not everybody that begins with you ends with you, has to or have to.
Marriage is an example.
It's an example. So the fact that, the NLC has been a major part of the Labour Party, it doesn't necessarily or necessitates the fact that it has to, there has to be a merger in the 2027 general election. So if the Labour Party feels that, moving forward, we want to disassociate ourselves or would not appreciate a merger at this point in time, I think it's fine, and that still works for the 2027 general election.
All right. I think that's what we're leaving it with the Guardian newspaper, everyone. Let's now turn to the News Direct newspaper.
On the front page of the Nigerian News Direct, we have Obasa returns as Lagos Assembly Speaker after weeks of power struggle. Miranda sworn in as Deputy Speaker after resignation. Obasa thanks supporters, urges unity in Lagos Assembly. I resigned to save Assembly from further embarrassment. Miranda here. And Obasa's reinstatement, a show of shame. Lagos Group, according to Lagos Group. So there are many sides to the return of Obasa. And then we have International Women's Day. UBA celebrates women with month-long strategic initiatives in March. That's beautiful. Sanwo-Olu backs ECOWAS integration, vows to strengthen regional unity. FEC approves 2.5 billion naira satellite gadgets to combat illegal mining. Senate won't act on hearsay. Akpabio never harassed her. Deputy Chief Whip dismisses Natasha's claims. Rivers Assembly gives Fubara 48 hours to represent 2025 budget, and NNPC Limited petrol now 860 naira per litre as price war heightens. I just want to quickly react to the approval by the Federal Executive Council, the 2.5 billion naira for gadgets to combat illegal mining. What comes to mind? We've talked about illegal mining for the longest time now. We've talked about the damages that these miners have caused people in the environment and the nation as a whole, the amount of money that we have lost. And now talking about these gadgets that I highly commend the initiative. The question is, we hope that we will not have cases of quite frankly, we need CCTV cameras, we need just technology basically to help us. Technologies that are sensitive, that would alert us to the activities of these miners, track, control, monitor these activities. But we just hope and we pray, because we also need quite frankly, why we need this gadget, why we need this equipment, we also need security. I think that will be top on the list. And we also need to reorient our security personnel so that they can play active roles in ensuring that we combat the activities of illegal miners. My concern now is this money that has been put into equipment or gadgets that would help us monitor these mining activities, one of which will be cameras. How secure will these cameras be? We've had cases where cameras were even vandalized, stolen, taken away in other places. So what makes these activities different? How would this strategy different? How would we be able to track success from this initiative? And we hope that it's not just another money going down the drain.
Well, you see, there's still the CCTV project for Abuja that runs into almost $500 billion. Almost $500 billion from many years ago that nobody is talking about anymore. But those are taxpayers' money we're talking about. Here we are again. We're talking about mining gadgets to combat illegal mining now, and then we hope it doesn't go the same routes.
Well, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Nigerian News Direct. This now brings us to our last point of call, which is the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, we flip things over. Look at the Daily Trust for you. Here it says Rivers Assembly gives Fubara 48 hours to present budgets. That story apparently is replicated across national dailies. Price war rages as NNPC matches Dangote's 860 naira per litre price. FEC approves 507 billion naira for Abuja, Kaduna, Zaria, Kano Road. Army Varsity Prof kidnapped, CSP rescued as after abduction. The writer says, bandits pick up Zamfara APC Ward Chair, ESCO members. Obasa returns as legal speaker 49 days after, as well over 1 month. And then we have three last headlines here, just at the foot of the paper this morning. Let's begin with the one that is on the bottom left. FG gives nod to 11 new private varsities. Victims recount ordeal as robbers attack church homes at Abuja suburb. How to practice, let's see that for you, healthy Ramadan fasts. How to practice healthy Ramadan fasts. You can read up those details on page 36 of the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Just to also mention that here at Global Television, we'll be broadcasting a Ramadan special for you at 11:30 a.m. and 10 p.m. every other day all through this Ramadan period for particularly our Muslim audience and indeed for our entire viewers, just to guide you through and help to further stimulate the spirit of Ramadan this season.
Well, that's all we have for you on the front page of our newspaper, our national dailies. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll bring to you the Global AM News, after which we'll begin conversations on topical issues. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Prime on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I'm Queen Agaba. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on NightComSat. You can download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. Mojisola Miranda has officially stepped down as the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, making a sudden transition in the legislative leadership of Nigeria's commercial hub. Miranda, who was appointed Speaker just 7 weeks ago following the removal of the Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasa, over allegations of gross misconduct and abuse of office, announced her resignation during Monday's plenary session. Her decision to step aside has sparked reactions from fellow lawmakers who praised her leadership qualities and her role in maintaining stability within the assembly. Journalists were prevented from entry into the Lagos State House of Assembly complex as the House is set to hold another plenary. The development stems from Obasa's return to the Assembly last Thursday, insisting that he will still be the Speaker of the House. Obasa was removed on January 13, 2025 by over 30 of the 40 lawmakers at the Assembly. The police command in Ondo State says investigations are ongoing into the assassination of a businessman, Ismaila Awoyinka, in Ore, Udigbo local government area of the state. ASP Fumilayo Odolami, the command's public relations officer, confirmed the assassination to the newsmen in Okitikpupa. Residents of Ore were left in shock after the assassination of Awoyinka, a building materials dealer, by unknown gunmen. The All Progressives Congress (APC) in Benue State has promised new and old members of the party equal opportunities in building a stronger house. The state governor, Hyacinth Alia, made the emphasis at a ceremony to mark the defection where thousands of defectors from different political parties joined the ruling APC in Lesel, Ushongo local government area of the state. Ogochukwu Mobino has details. We'll bring you that report subsequently. The Christian Association of Nigeria in the 19 northern states and Abuja has condemned the closure of public and private schools in some northern states during Ramadan. While condemning the action of the affected states, the Christian body asks northern governors to match education with spiritual practice. The call followed the directive to close public and private schools in Bauchi, Katsina, Kano, and Kebbi states for 5 weeks during Ramadan. The National Association of Nigerian Students has called on the federal government to investigate the National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) over the non-payment of the newly approved 77,000 naira monthly allowance for corps members. The association expressed disappointment that months after the federal government approved the increase from 33,000 naira to 77,000 naira effective July 2024, the NYSC has yet to implement the payment. The Director General of the NYSC, Brigadier General Yushau Ahmed, stated the new allowance was not implemented due to the non-release of funds. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia has described the death of a media icon and philanthropist Kenneth Gado as a huge blow to not only the Gado family but the entire state. The governor made the assertion at the burial of late Gado in Uhu Vandikia local government area, where he joined other sympathizers to pay his final respects to the deceased. Correspondent Felicity Ndere has details. We apologize, we'll bring you details subsequently. Drivers and owners of trucks conveying goods from the north to the southeast have protested against incessant killing by suspected members of the indigenous people of Biafra. They staged a protest in Jos Plateau State capital, decrying that many of their members had been killed and their vehicles burnt in the attacks. The drivers, under the umbrella of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, marched with placards with different inscriptions such as "Stop Killing Northern Drivers." The Rivers State House of Assembly has given the state governor Siminalayi Fubara 48 hours to present the 2025 budget to the lawmakers. The lawmakers made the request during their sitting in Port Harcourt. On January 2nd, Governor Fubara signed the 1.1 trillion naira 2025 budget into law after presenting it to lawmakers led by Victor Oko Jumbo. Kebbi State Governor Nasir Idris has approved the reduction of official working hours for the state civil servants during the month of Ramadan. This is contained in a statement signed by the State's Commissioner for Establishment, Pension and Training, Awal Dogondaji, and made available to newsmen in Birnin Kebbi, the state capital. The state government had last week, as part of preparations for the fasting period, issued a circular directing both public and private schools to bring the second term to end on Friday to allow the Muslim faithful to participate in the fasting. You're watching the live broadcast of the News Prime. When the AM News returns, thousands evacuated as Japan's biggest fire in decades continues to burn. We'll bring you details of this from the foreign scene, as well as business and sports stories right after the break. Please stay with us.
Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Many thanks for staying with us. The news returns with business. French ambassador to Nigeria, Marc Fombastier, has reaffirmed his country's commitment to remain Nigeria's strategic ally in developing the solid mineral sector. He made this remark during a courtesy call on the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dr. Dele Alake in Abuja. Sharon Ajay has details.
The ambassador noted that France is fully committed to supporting Nigerians' roadmap for mining development, with a very keen interest in investing in the rapidly developing solid minerals sector. He said France has shown enthusiasm, commitment, and readiness to implement tangible projects.
Humbly, but with the trust I have in my country, I come to offer you to, if you accept, debrief a bit about what we can achieve now, what could be the next steps.
In response to the visiting ambassador, the Minister of Solid Mineral, Dr. Dele Alake, acknowledged France's frontline position among prospective stakeholders who have shown interest in the solid mineral sector. The minister shared his optimism that a long-standing and robust bilateral relationship between Nigeria and France will be further enhanced. The minister reiterated that the core agenda of President Tinubu's policy initiative has been the diversification of the economy with emphasis on solid minerals development. He highlighted the imperative of continued engagement with the French team to identify serious French companies interested in the mining sector, whilst also fine-tuning areas of collaboration to concretize partnership based on the earlier signed MOU.
So our own objective is to further enhance this relationship and, like I said, put a lot of things into actionable format and then put a timeline so that we can put ourselves on the edge, so be on our toes and be monitoring whatever that we are achieving as time goes on. Because as I told you, we are very, very much preparing for development of this sector.
Corroborating the ambassador, Deputy Head Regional Economy Department of the French Embassy, Caroline Lebator, expressed France's readiness to fund projects in the mining cooperation and collaboration with the ministry to gravitize French companies for development of the mining value chain. Nigeria and France has signed an MOU late last year on the heels of President Tinubu's state visit to France to develop joint projects for promotion and diversification of the critical mineral value chain with emphasis on technical assistance, capacity building, and remediation of abandoned pits. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
The Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, has vowed to mobilize workers and citizens for a nationwide protest if the federal government proceeds with its proposed electricity tariff hike, describing it as economic violence against the working class and broader Nigerian populace. This came as the National Union of Electricity employees warned the federal government against plans to hike electricity tariffs, saying Nigerians should not be paying for darkness. It accused the Ministry of Power and Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission of attempting to force consumers into higher tariff bands under the pretext of service improvement, while in reality deepening economic hardship. The Dangote Petroleum Refinery has announced that it will refund customers who purchased premium motor spirit petrol at rates higher than the advertised prices from any of its key partners across Nigeria. The company says the move follows the refinery's recent reduction of its January price from 890 naira per litre to 825 naira per litre. In a statement, the refinery stated this is part of its ongoing effort to ensure that Nigerians are the primary beneficiaries of the price reduction, in line with President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda, which aims to stimulate the economy. Cashew merchants and exporters in Ogun State have called on President Bola Tinubu, the state governor Dakwa Abiodun, and security agencies to intervene in the alleged daily extortion they suffer from security operatives while transporting cashews from farms to warehouses. The merchants, under the urges of the National Cashew Association of Nigeria, Ogun State Chapter, made the appeal during a press conference in Abeokuta. The consultant, Special Duties Ogun State, Taiwo Akilabi, alleged that the merchants were subjected to constant harassment and extortion by security agencies along various checkpoints mounted across the state. The United Kingdom and Nigeria has reaffirmed their commitment to enhancing trade relations and driving economic growth through the implementation of Nigeria's National Quality Policy under the Standards Partnership Program Phase 2. This was issued in a statement from the British Deputy High Commission in Lagos. Launched in June 2024, the SPP Phase 2 aims to eliminate technical trade barriers, improve regulatory compliance, and promote export competitiveness between both nations. The federal government has announced plans to secure a total investment of $122.2 billion to diversify the country's energy sources, reduce dependence on the national grid, and enhance the overall stability and sustainability of the nation's energy infrastructure. The amount to be raised between 2024 and 2045, representing 21 years, is to ensure energy diversification from the current electricity sources of hydropower and gas-fired thermal plants. It aims to diversify energy sources by incorporating hydrogen, solar photovoltaic technology, biomass, wind, gas projects combined with carbon capture, utilization, and storage technologies, nuclear, solar, and bioenergy. On the foreign scene, Mohammad Javad Zarif, Iran's most prominent reformist, has resigned from the government, saying he had been instructed to do so by an unnamed senior official. He implied the move was endorsed by the supreme leader Ali Khamenei, although he did not name him in his resignation letter as he stepped down as Vice President for Strategic Affairs. His departure, a hammer blow to the still relatively new government of President Masoud Pezeshkian, follows the impeachment of the Economy Minister Abdulnasser Hemati, as Iranian conservatives go on the offensive, using the continued decline in the national currency as a reason to demand a change of course. Volodymyr Zelensky says it will not be easy to replace him as Ukraine's president, but repeated his offer to step down in exchange for NATO membership for his war-torn country. The U.S. Republicans had suggested he may have to resign after U.S. President Donald Trump dramatically turned against him during the contentious Oval Office meeting about the war with Russia. Japan has deployed more than 2,000 firefighters to battle the country's biggest forest fire in 3 decades. At least one person has died in the blaze, which has touched more than 5,200 acres around the northern Japanese city of Ofunato since Thursday, according to the Fire and Disaster Management Agency. Although January to March is typically Ofunato's dry season, the area saw less rainfall last month than any February in more than 20 years, recording just 2.5 millimeters compared to the usual average of 41. France and Britain have not agreed on a partial truce plan for Ukraine. A UK Prime Minister says after French President Emmanuel Macron says it had been proposed by the two nations. Macron says that London and Paris are proposing 1 month truce in Ukraine in the air, at sea, and on energy infrastructure. He further says such a treaty would not initially at least cover ground fighting. Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji has pledged to support golf and promote its adoption among residents of the state. Oyebanji says that golf as a sport with immense potential could be beneficial to residents, including those of advanced age, due to its numerous health benefits. The governor, represented by his chief of staff, Niyi Adebayo, who spoke at the Ekiti Golf Club, Ado Ekiti, during the inauguration ceremony of Tolu Falayi as captain of the club and EGC captain's inaugural tournament, reiterated his administration's commitment to sports development. Remo Stars continued to hold firmly to their lead at the top of the Nigeria Premier Football League table, thanks to a hard-fought 1-0 win over relegation threatened Plateau United in Ikenne. Mid-season signing and former Sunshine Stars striker Samson Olasukwo marked his return to the Nigerian top flight with a goal in the 74th minute of the game to seal the win for Daniel Ogunmodere's side. And that's it on the Global AM News. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365, on StarTimes channel 276, and free to air on Nightcomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Queen Agaba. Thank you for watching and see you again.
That global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world.
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that global television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch global television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you.
All right, thank you everyone for staying with us. So we'll put our conversations on the road very soon, but some issues have been very disturbing these last few days, some of them starting from weekend, others just from yesterday, Monday. So, yes, human angle stories they are, but quite disturbing as well. The story in particular about some 50-year-old man who is now alleged to have killed his 24-year-old wife over food, right? You're always scratching your head when you hear a man killed his wife. You're wondering, how can you kill your own wife? Was it circumstantial? Was it in self-defense? Was it in error? What exactly were the circumstances, all right? Or what was the motivation? And then you're asking, what even gave rise to that? Because nobody just kills somebody. There must be something. And news stories are saying it was basically about food. Food exactly in what sense? No matter what the food was about. Was it an entire bag of rice? Was it food for an event, maybe a birthday party, an anniversary, family get-together, family reunion? How much of food was it? And what was the significance of that food? So much so that it led to someone losing their life.
But let me talk from all sides, all angles right now. First of all, I'm going to look at the big issue here is that he killed his wife. We're tired of hearing stories like this, narratives like this, seeing, pictures, videos, tales of husbands killing their wives and wives killing their husbands. It's becoming alarming. It's a sad situation, appalling. I mean, for young people who are looking to get married, I don't know. So I was reading comments a few weeks ago, similar issue. One man who beat his wife almost to a pulp, and then the comments, people are scared. People are saying that with all of these things they see, they don't want to go into marriages anymore because, it's almost like there's nothing in there for them. Regardless, there are a lot of beautiful marriages that are thriving. I think we want to see more of these marriages online. But we must address these issues. Why do people get married to people they cannot stand? What are these people discussing when they are courting? Now, the age disparity about this particular couple, I don't know, I've not read into this story, but he's a 50-year-old man and the wife is a 24-year-old girl. That's like how many generations before? Well,
some people say it's just 26-year difference.
26 years is not just. I mean, she's old enough to be his daughter. If he had had her when he was 20, she would be 26 now, or 20 years. If he had, but that's already a red flag to an extent. And then it must have been that the food we're talking about could be a meal. A meal. I mean, there are triggers. It must not necessarily be about the food, but the fact that maybe he felt disrespected to an extent, it may have been unintentional, but we must regulate our emotions. I want to talk about the age disparity. For me, that's already a huge red flag. But let's address couples who cannot stand themselves when they are triggered or when they are angry. First of all, I think that these things should be discussed. This is one of the things that people should talk about before they get married. What are your triggers? Look at how they react when they are angry. What do they say? The extremes that they go to. Don't take it lightly. Don't think that when you marry it's going to be different. Somebody's already screaming at the top of his voice, or a lady's already smashing the TV when she's angry, and you cannot really place what exactly is going on. I mean, what have I said or what have I done to warrant this level of rage? These are pointers to the fact that this person can be very destructive, abusive, and can take your life. So I think that people should be careful and also look at the people that they get married to, because I don't think that, it is not in this man's pattern to be angry and triggered, and he must have some way, one way or the other, showed this rage. You can't stand in the course of. But then again, this girl is a young girl, and she must have. I don't know how long they've been married. She must. Some people might argue, I say 24 years is not young, is not old, but compared to the level of maturity that is expected of this 50-year-old man, she must have been maybe manipulated, maybe coerced, forced, or brainwashed into going into this sort of marriage. And then this man is killing this girl because of food. It's a sad occurrence.
It is. Incidentally, one would say, well, the issues were trivial. Those issues that led to all of this. First, they say it had to do with the handling of food ingredients and fruits designated for breaking of Ramadan fast. That's also another very sensitive part of it, very painful as well. All right, that's the incident is one way or another related to the Ramadan fast. And we know how families and communities can be very knitted together more than ever before when it comes to Ramadan fast. You see people praying together in clusters everywhere you turn, and all of that. All through the period. And then somebody loses their life in between because of food ingredients. Not just the food. Now, the food ingredients, we are told, and then the way fruits were handled and all that. Yes, we can disagree about that to say, no, this is not how these things are handled, especially given the significance of this exercise, and things like that. But does the confrontation need to culminate in death is a question. But of course we understand that the State Police Command has apprehended the suspects, is in custody. Of course, as always, the investigation is on, and we hope this turns out well in terms of how justice is served for all involved, the suspects, the person whose life was taken, those who also accessories to this crime, heinous crime, we must say, and then the family of the deceased, all right, because they have to find consolation, they have to find closure. Therefore, justice has got to be done in the end. And that brings us to the issue of things people should talk about before they get married, right? You see, marriage is pretty much like Nigerian public university, right? When you're not getting admission into university, you are eager, especially when you have friends, your age mates, your classmates from high school who are now in university. You are in a hurry, you want to get into school. And your parents also want you to get into school as quickly as possible. You get into school, you're not asking yourself in pidgin parlance, who sent me? Because you are seeing all of the issues, all of the challenges. The system is just knocking you left, right, and center, it's straining you emotionally and otherwise, and all of that. You are in a hurry to want to leave school. But the question is, are you going to live in between because of the pressure? Or are you going to stay the course, all right? Stay the process, all right? Stay put, as they say, and finish your course of study successfully. And those are options in front of you, whether you like it or not. And you must pick one of them. There's no middle ground in between. Now, why is this important? We say, communicate when you want to get married. Communicate when you are married. Continue to communicate. Live your entire life. Stay in this marriage communicating. I've had the privilege to anchor a lot of wedding events. I noticed that couples don't listen to these things, but it's okay. Couples don't listen, and you don't blame couples because, this is a long-awaited day. It's a big day, perhaps one of the biggest days in their lives, right? Some may never even know a bigger day than that wedding day. So they want to make the most of it. In fact, they even wish it doesn't end, particularly from the lady's angle. But here's the thing, right? They say communicate. Communication is not a straightforward thing when people say talk about these things. I mean, try to even start a communication with somebody you're dating. Start with your colleague at work, start with your boss, start with your subordinate. It's not as easy as we imagine it's going to be. And then there are the tough conversations, right? How do you have them? But you see, the good thing is there are red flags that just pop up on their own. For example, they say you go out on a date with a gentleman, at least, let's say a gentleman. And you want to look at how he treats the waiters at the restaurant. How does he treat the cabman? How does he treat his younger ones, his cousins, his neighbors, those he is ahead of, whether academically, professionally, career-wise, financially, whatever it is, those that he has an advantage over, how does he treat them? What kind of words does he use when he's extremely offended, when he's legitimately offended? Absolutely. What are the things he says? How does he apologize? Do we need to get a monarch to beg him to apologize? You know, there are people like that.
Yes, does he never say sorry or he just buys you things?
Yeah, exactly. Instead of saying sorry, he gives you a gift. He makes every other week your birthday because he can't say sorry. And you say, no, I understand now. That's the reason why. That's the way it is. I understand with him. You know. In fact, some research, we can't really point them specifically at this moment, but some research says that, look, many things that ultimately break marriages were noted, were seen while dating.
And weaved off.
Yes, and we say, well, he would change. You know, there's that part of he would change. And then we also say, there's the I would change him. Look, we've not been able to change ourselves. So how do you change someone else who's an adult and hopefully have a mind of their own and things like that, right? And then you come to that point where you also say, well, nobody's perfect. Yes, he may be hot-tempered, may be short-tempered, he may have temperament issues, but he's a human being after all. There are other good parts of him, which is true. Nobody's perfect. So you've got to look out for the amazing parts that inspire you and all of that. But the question is, will those ones suffice for his shortcoming, for his failing, for his weakness? And can you stay the whole haul? Can you stay the course with him? We understand you dated him for 2 years and you were able to deal with these issues. But don't forget that was you dating. That was a phase that predates marriage, matrimony as we know it. So you're going to deal with this person now for the rest of your life. That's from a lady's perspective. How about the gentleman, for example? You are looking at all of the physical features. I mean, look at the Lambo issue that's on now. He's going to buy him a Lamborghini, he's not going to buy him a Lamborghini and all of that. But you see, look at how people are reacting to these issues. It just reflects the state of mind of many of us, right? How people think. And that's how people will think when they are married. There are no hard and fast rules to these things to say, well, when he gets married, he'll change. When she gets married, she'll think differently. No. The way they are reacting to this Lamborghini conversation, and now we understand it was supposed to cost about 450 million naira, close to $500 million Nigerian money for that particular act, if you know what I mean. But the thing is, can you separate between what these reactions, the way people are engaging with this conversation, and how they will behave in marriage? Of course, you cannot. And let's not also forget that in between you're going to have children, so definitely there will be a lot of complications that you have to simplify. It's your responsibility to do that. And then you were also talking about the issue of age difference. But I thought that you said age is a number.
Yeah, age is just a number, but there's some age.
Some numbers are bigger than some numbers than others.
That you have to consider. And, you know, yes. So this brings me to say that, you know, when you're talking about when women think that they can change people, or they would change, the man would change when they get married, I think is what has led a lot of people into.
You think it's Nollywood scripts?
No, the trouble that they have gotten themselves into. Because you see a man who has been married first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you know, or 5 women, say 5 women, has married first, and then you're going there. What are you expecting? Exactly. What do you think would happen? Have you sat down to do your proper research, ask questions as to why a man has a first wife, a second wife, third, down to 5 wives, and then all 4 of them, you know, have left him, you know, and then you are going to get married to that kind of man who is way older than you are. You know, there are a lot of sides to it. Okay, let me just take, for instance, I was reading comments. I'm always in the comment section just to get the opinions of Nigerians concerning the Regina Daniel issue and her husband. And, you know, the age disparity is
the margin is wide, it's huge. And
I like the fact that you're citing this example. I'm very sure our audience, particularly the Gen Zs, can relate real quick with this. But we want to take a quick break now. When we return, we want to look at this issue from how we can all relate with it and bring it to life in terms of how these things happen real time. Do stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is
Many thanks for staying with us on the program. It's still Global Morning. Incidentally, we will be switching up the conversation this time around, talking about faith and service of the nation, particularly now that it's the Ramadan season. And we have our in-house analyst, Professor Ibrahim Abubakar. Many thanks for joining me on the program. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, and happy Ramadan, pre-Ramadan celebration.
Thank you.
Okay, let's look at office holders, political office holders, or public servants, and the faith, basically, particularly now that it's Ramadan season. And, you know, how far can we say that most of the people who were either appointed or elected in public offices, because we know that one of the two, they were either elected into public office or appointed, and we're talking basically about people who are Muslims now, because when it's the Easter period, we look at Christians and it's Christmas or whatever, but particularly now that it's the Ramadan season, let's look at how far public servants, public office holders have been able to, you know, use faith, served, you know, in line with their faith. They have brought their faith into service and served according to the teachings of faith. How far have they portrayed this faith in service?
Hey, thank you for this question. Well, I want to leverage so many things as it affects Islam. We are very religious people. Does not make us very good Muslims or whatever. We are religious because we feel we're born into it, not because the religion is in us or Islam is in us. Let me use the word Islam. That differentiates Islam from religion. Islam is a way of life, while religion is a service to portray what God is. So we are not portraying what God is. Rather, we are not also Muslims in a way. Some people just feel because they were born into the religion or because they were born into that sphere of life or because of their environmental factor, that makes them very good Muslims. That is not true to facts. But let's now come to true to facts. Even if you go through the Quran, the holy book, it says that if you are supposed to work for 8 hours and you work for 7 hours instead of 8, you are supposed to remit that 1 hour payment back because you did not give that service. So here we have people who are in public service who don't remit back what they are earning. Even on a word of oral contract that says that, okay, I will be giving services to you at this period, you find out that you don't give that services. It is against you Islamically when you don't give that services. So when you look at these public servants, both elected and the rest, you appointed, you find out that they are not giving any service as prescribed by Islam. I've been coming to this place now. I don't think there is any day that I'm 1 minute late. For a program that I would have even sit down and relax at home and said, I'm not coming. But as far as I've agreed to come, I don't think I have 1 minute late any time. And that is what portrays you as a Muslim. That portrays you as you have the blended of the ethics and values of Islam.
So integrity, like you mentioned, is one of those values that is embedded in Islam.
You must have moral value, you must have respect, and you must have integrity to say you are worshipping in any form, not just Islam. When you don't have these values, you are not worshipping.
Okay, Nigeria is described as, a religious country. But from what you have highlighted, it shows that, or does it, is it portrayed in the public service?
No, that is what we are saying. I said religion is just, Nigeria is just a religious nation, where we are quick to say we are Muslims, we are this, we are that, and we are not carrying the crown of that that particular set you belongs to. Whether Christians or Muslim is the same thing. They are not carrying the crown. They are not going into the details and ethics and values of that particular set you belongs to. So we are only, it is saddening that most of our forms, they will tell you religion. So a lot of people just fill in Christian, Muslim. That is just all. That is just all. But are you building it on the tenets of that very set? No.
You've given examples, and true to it, I can attest to the fact that you have been very timely, which reflects your values. But for public service holders, we can tell that the opposite is the case. The question now is, how can we begin to imbibe these values? How can we revitalize these values? Particularly, we could start talking about from younger ones, or how can we change the narrative for public service holders?
Did you know the details of the books? Let me speak from the angle of the holy book we all believe in, the Quran. He said it plainly. It is written there. If you are to give service for 8 hours or 9 hours, and you give service for just 7 or 8 hours, refund that hour that you were not there. It's automatic. That is the instruction. If you are working for 28 days and you missed 1 day, and you know it is not because of hate, it is just because of your person, and your person, he said, refund that 1 day. There is no, he did not condone it. It is something that is condoned. You just said, okay, after all, the religion condoned that if I don't go to work, it is not a problem. But he said, even 1 day, just 1 hour, he said, return that money of that 1 hour, calculate it. How much is my wage for 1 hour? I wasn't there and I was paid for the whole hours. I wasn't there for 1 hour. So refund it. He did not. There was no excuse to it. Late coming to job is not an excuse. But if you are ill, you take ill, and you have any reason to have said, please, I am ill, or I'm in the hospital, or so, that is okay. That is understandable. But I can tell you that there are chief executives, this is after 9, who are still at home. You will never see them in the office till it is around 10, 11, 12. And they tell you they are working. Some will even create an excuse. They have no reason not to be at home. That they are the chief executives, so they should be at home. So these are the things we are talking of. So it has nothing to do with our faith. The faith has already told you. The Islam has already told you. Refund that money, because you will never work for it. So that is just the issue.
Okay, despite our many strengths, we would agree with me that we've been plagued with a lot of challenges, despite our faith and our tag as a religious nation. And somehow we've even heard stories of how some people have said, a particular faith is, is encouraging a certain act of insecurity, of which we know is false. But how can we work together, whether as a Christian, as a Muslim, to begin to reorient and change that subconscious mentality of insecurity, of armed robbery, a whole lot of ills that has been happening? How can both work together to ensure a better country?
Well, the society as it is today has a religion divide. When things we're supposed to celebrate, we don't celebrate them. You can see a young man who will just come and said he has made it, and everybody will focus on the young man. We got the days where the moral value was there are the days where technicalities, human value and were recognized. Now human values are not recognized. When we were in the elementary school, you find out that it's not about your parents. It is not about your family. It is about the community and the environment where you stay. So when you're coming back from school, if you misbehave, somebody will quickly reprimand you. These days, nobody reprimands anybody's child. The first question is, are you the one that gave birth to the child? If you are with the one that has lost one of the parents, they said, suppose the father was alive. Suppose the mother was there. Will you do this? Can you do it to your own child? So these challenges has made it becomes a wide, forgetting that the same Quran said that the child is for the community, the child is for the society, and not just yours. So bringing up the child is not only you, it is not only your duty, but the duty of the people around you. But you have no right over anybody's child today, because the traditional value has been eroded, the cultural value has been eroded, the moral value has been eroded. So many things has been eroded. Even the so-called religion value is eroded. It's no longer there. What we are doing here now is just lip service. just to say we are Muslims and that is just all. Whereas Islam don't have race, don't take cognizance of race, tribe, or anything. You are a Muslim, you are a Muslim. So till the day we know this, we will have peace, which is the other name of Islam.
Okay, looking at the context of Nigeria, where we are now, and how far we've come, how do you think that national service is best described for Nigeria? What does it mean when we say national service?
When you say national service, you should go back to the Nigeria, the index. We are low there. When you talk of corruption, they will mention Nigeria. They will mention anything you have said is significant. The first thing is it is insignificant in Nigeria. So you cannot bring the public service where people go to look for job and buy slot. Is that what we are going to say as a service? That is not a service delivery system. So competency is not there. Nobody look at competency. Nobody look at your expertise. Nobody look at your values. What you think you can get on a platter of gold, which was what was there before, is no longer a yardstick. So you see somebody who has first class selling pure water, whereas somebody who made pass is an MD of an organization. So that is the way we have placed it. There is no priority, there is no skill. So when there is a society that has no value for skills, then there is no way that society will not collapse. And that is where we find ourselves.
Okay, the Ramadan period, as we know, is a time where families come together. It's a time where Muslims celebrate, they reflect, they take personal time and collective time out to fast and also reflect, not just personal spiritual engagement. How do we leverage this Ramadan period to promote peace, unity, and national service?
When you talk of the cohesion, then it's not, Ramadan is not actually because of family coming together, no. It's a period of reflection, agreed. And those reflection has to reflect in you. It's not just for that 1 month. It is for the period to the next Ramadan. The reflection is you remembering that I could feed myself 3 times a day. I cannot see that there are families who cannot even feed once in a day. I can see that I have not been sick for the past 1 year. There are families that are in the hospital for 1 year. I can see that there are families who cannot pay fees, school fees. There are families who have no home. There are families who have no clothes to wear. So it's a period for you to reflect on all this and know what to do. Can you provide a home for 1 person? Can you provide clothing or clothes for 2 people? Can you provide food for 1 person? Can you take somebody who is out of school and put that person in school to get education? These are the things that the fasting reflects on, not just because you want to starve yourself. It's not for starvation. It's not for because I have no food to eat. Sometimes I just see people, when you just talk to them, say, I'm fasting. You are fasting. Then what? If you are fasting, are you going to tell me you are fasting? I'm also fasting. But I must not blow it as a trumpet that I'm fasting. It is a period of sober reflection. Is there anything I have to change in my life that I have not been able to change? What is the complaint? What is the report and the feedback mechanisms against my person? Those are the areas we are supposed to look at. It's not an issue of, oh, I have to do this. No. Oh, I have to, my family. No. You see some of them who will tell you, I am fasting, I can't go out now. I am fasting, I can be laborious. You have been laborious. You have been working all this while. It is even a period where you work harder. Because if you have something to win and you're working harder, you won't even feel the pains of or the effect of the fast so much on you. It will weigh you down. But that is the period where you see people sleeping.
Well, many thanks, Prof, for your time with us and your contribution to the topic of nation building, national service, basically. If you've just joined us, we have been speaking with Professor Ibrahim Abubakar, who is our in-house analyst, helping us make better sense of faith and national service. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll move on to other conversations. Please stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning. Do you know that Global Television can be watched in Nigeria and all over the world?
Download the Global TV Nigerian mobile app for Android and iOS devices to watch Global Television real-time from around the world. What are you waiting for?
Start downloading and stay connected to Global Television.
All right, let's take things a little beyond the shores of Nigeria now. The ceasefire deal, or what many will call the truce, in Gaza between Hamas and the Israeli authorities has become a bit more controversial. At the start of it, things really were looking up with a few swaps here and there, but a couple of hiccups at some points started indicating that all wasn't well with the entire process. So questions have been raised as to what went wrong actually. Why has the entire process headed south with tension and in some cases hostilities even being reported? To help us find sense in all of this in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm joined by a public policy consultant, Emmanuel Ozomena. First of all, I'll say thank you for making our time to be here, regardless of all of the obstacles this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So let's look at this Gaza issue. When this truce was entered into by all of these parties, midwifed by a couple of countries, everybody had, at least many people had thought it was the start of the end of this war between Hamas and Israel. What really has changed in the middle of this entire truce process?
Okay, the only thing I think that seems to have changed is that there was a ceasefire. So the two warring factions, in this case Israel, State of Israel, and the Palestinians, essentially Hamas, laid down their tools, and there were exchange of hostages and prisoners. So at the moment, a couple of the Israelis who were being held hostage had been released. Some came back alive, some were corpses. There's the babies, two babies and their mother. They brought back the corpse. I think on Friday or thereabout, there were an additional 4 corpses that were also returned. But it was some sort of a relief for everyone, because humanitarian corridor was open for relief to go into Gaza. And everybody was happy. Everybody was looking forward to a more sustainable peace. But that seems to be a little bit shaken at the moment on the basis of, I think the Israeli authorities are asking for that process to continue. Hamas is saying, no, let's go back to the table and renegotiate. Because the duration or timeline for the first phase seems to have elapsed. I think that's where they are at the moment.
Wow, this is interesting. We know how much of time and other resources it costs to get these warring factions to, come to the table, and how a few other countries within the region and outside of the region had to intervene or even meddle in the process just to ensure that this truce was reached at the end of the day. But
in my understanding, if you ask me, was that the immediate past administration in the U.S.
under former President Biden?
By the President Biden, didn't do enough. You notice that the idea around ceasefire came back on the table the moment November election happened, 2024 election happened in the U.S. Because they know Trump may have a different idea. The incoming Trump administration would have a different idea about his engagement in the Middle East. So that triggered that interest to go in and quickly have some sort of a resolution, a way forward, a path to peace or to ending the war. The war has been, or the process has been on for over 500 days. October 7th, 2023 to date, it's over 515 days or thereabouts. So, but I think it's something that the global community, international community, need to keep engaging with. If you ask me, it might not end so soon.
It seems like a long walk to freedom, as they would say. But let's look at the quote-unquote with interference of other nations, whether Egypt, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and like you mentioned, the US and Europe is also throwing their weight somehow in between. But essentially, these nations I mentioned, of course, the US is heavily invested in the Middle East strategically, whether defense-wise and what have you. How have these, if you like, extraneous influences shaped this narrative in the Middle East?
Looking at the geopolitics of the Middle East, the Middle East geopolitics defines the global politics at the moment. Let's look at the South African president under Cyril Ramaphosa going to International Court for Criminal, the ICC in The Hague, under Rome Conference of Parties. Now, asking for filing a suit against Netanyahu and the Israeli defense minister on the activities in Gaza. Throw your mind back to 2013, when the same Cyril Ramaphosa had said ICC is skewed against African leaders. I was asking the African Union to pull out of ICC. In fact, he said he was going to pull South Africa. He convinced a couple of members of SADC, South and Eastern African Economic Development Corporation, to pull out. So if his motion had succeeded, would he have taken Netanyahu to ICC? But the other extraneous interest that you can't get an Arab nation filing a suit against Netanyahu and the defense minister.
Why is that?
No, but that would be because they are interested party. But they now convinced an African leader. You would ask, what is the interest of South Africa in the Middle East and Gaza? So the entire thing, it's so that's why I said the politics of the Middle East is a defining huge factor in the global politics. Some European leaders, including Poland, France, and what have you, have said, look, Netanyahu will be arrested if he comes to Europe. But incidentally, a couple of them who have had election recently where the far right candidates won, or conservative candidates have said, look, Netanyahu is free to come. I think one of them is Johnny.
So this is about political ideology, is that the point?
It has a historical, we need to look at the historical context of what some people call political Zionism. Israel had the land over the years. Historically, a lot of things happened. You had the Roman Empire, you had the Ottoman Empire, and what have you. And they were dispersed from their land. And people took possession of those lands. Over time, between 18th and 19th century, movements started and said, look, we need to go back to our land. And incidentally, at the beginning of 19th century, quite a lot of Israelis who were scattered all over the world, Poland, Russia, Romania, and they began to build up a movement towards restoration of the state of Israel. Second World War happened, or First World War rather happened, and the Palestinian area, Egypt and a couple of countries there came under the British trusteeship. And that meant, and you had these very influential British Israelis within the British political system and the US political system who say, look, we would actualize this. They had even at a point tried to pay up the Ottoman Empire leaders to buy back their land, but it couldn't happen. But finally, in 1948, May 14th, 1948, the State of Israel came into being. And the U.S. was the first to recognize them through UN resolution. There was also an attempt before this time to create a two-state, which the Palestinians rejected. They said, we are not going to negotiate. These things are historical. I mean, I can send you books, tons of materials I have on the Palestinian question, the Middle East crisis, the State of Israel, Zionism, and what have you. I've taken quite a lot of time to study that history. As they were settling down, there was a war of independence. The initial land area agreed had expanded as a result of war, because each war they will win and secure more territory. The last being 1973 war that gave them more territory. So Jordan, Syria, and Egypt saw at a point we can't win this. They had a reapproachment, and at the moment they are like the buffer zone for the US and Israel within the Middle East. If you look at the map, I wish they could show the map. You find that Israel is a very tiny, occupies very tiny portion in the Middle East. So they look threatened. They feel threatened
by the surrounding nations.
Yeah, and that's why they had to build a strong defense system to ensure that they secure themselves. There's a policy that every young person, I think at the age of 16 or thereabout, must serve in the IDF. So that way you can have a lot of people on the reservist. So when October 7th happened, people who are even living outside Israel came back
to get enlisted.
People who are living across the world. In fact, ahead of the U.S. election, Josh Shapiro, who is the governor of Pennsylvania, was dropped. I had said this before. I mean, is in the publications across U.S. Kamala Harris was to pick him and Tim Walz. Kamala's funders, donors, say, look, you can't pick him because he's a Zionist, in quotes. He had volunteered in the IDF, even though he's an Israeli American. He went to work in IDF. He was the editor of the Israeli Jewish student newspaper while he was in the university. They pulled out the articles he had written. So it's a global thing. It's a big issue. Will it be resolved in our lifetime? I'm not sure. Well, how will it be resolved? Nobody can. We can only guess. Are the Palestinians ready for a two-state solution? I wouldn't know. Would Hamas dismantle its network? I wouldn't know. You saw when Netanyahu said, look, we are going to Gaza, we are taking over the place, and began to talk about tunnels. How were those tunnels built? Who provided funding for those tunnels? What were the tunnels meant for? We had this, you saw the pictures of tunnels under hospitals, under schools, under residential buildings.
Is that the reason the Israeli forces attacks hospitals and schools?
I mean, you can see the pictures. The videos are there, the evidence are there. The point is, Hamas became the political leaders of, or took over the political leadership in Gaza. And they had all the opportunity to do whatever they wanted to do.
Is that also, an explanation for how that we tend to talk more about Israel versus Hamas, as against what should have perhaps been Israel versus Palestine. Exactly.
Okay.
How do we create that dichotomy?
I listened to an IDF, the IDF spokesperson, precisely, is a Rear Admiral. I listened to him talk. He said, look, there's no way you can get Hamas rooted out of Gaza without it affecting the civilians. It's collateral damages. That's what we call it. That's number one. Number two, I think the Israelis are a little bit worried on, if you watch the video during the raid on northern Israel, I mean, taped or videoed by Hamas operatives, you see the people on the street hailing them. That also would have created some level of support for such actions. That's what the IDF spokesperson said. So the entire thing is complex, is complicated. Like I asked, will it be resolved in our lifetime? Does the United Nations Security Council have the capacity and capability to resolve it? Can it be resolved unilaterally, or could you get everybody to agree? When Hamas did what they did on October 7th, what were their real intentions? If you look at, just throw your mind back, the first term of President Donald Trump,
right,
there were already some level of what he called Abraham Accord, where you had Israel opening up diplomatic relationships with most of the nations in the Middle East. It was as if we are getting to a season of peace in the Middle East. Suddenly, is it possible that some operatives within the region felt, look, if this peace is sustained, they will be out of business? That's one thing.
Angle, serious.
Or would it be somebody say, look, because the last part for, I think, opening up diplomatic relationship with Saudi Arabia was what they were. It was to happen just a few weeks before that time. Then October 7th happened. So there are a lot of conspiracy theories out there. Remember Kamala Harris at a point said, look, that Israel can't go to Rafah. Rafah was a big issue. IDF shouldn't go there. Netanyahu said, we will go there. Defied the Biden administration advice. And when they got there, you saw the evidence. So, in fact, the failure of Kamala Harris to win the 2024 U.S. presidential election, it's her position on the Middle East.
Okay, so I'm just going to allow us talk for 1 minute about this proposed plan by President Trump to resettle Gazans across Egypt and Jordan. People say that's preposterous and far from realizable. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think if you get all the parties to the table, they can agree on a path to a sustainable Gaza. That's one. Secondly, Trump says Gaza is a demolition site. So what do you do with demolition sites? It's like Ukraine. He said, look, go there, Donbas, that Ukraine, part of Ukraine where the war is intense. It's a demolition site. So what do you do with demolition sites? It means you have to rebuild.
Right.
And you can't rebuild when people are there. So you must have a process of people relocate them somewhere, rebuild, and then you can work out the terms of resettlement. When you have such huge devastation in terms of destruction, the first process is relocate the displaced population to a temporary place where they are able to stay until you finish the rebuilding process. Have you bothered to look at the pictures, the videos of what Gaza looks like at the moment.
Of course, it's an entire devastation.
No, I think Trump's definition makes a lot of sense. Some might think it's extreme. He says it's a demolition site. So how do you manage a demolition site? And it will require funding, it will require resources, it will require all kinds of whatever. So, and who is going to pay for it?
Well, who's going to pay for it? It sounds like when Trump was in office between 2017 and 2021, when the issue of the Mexican war was raging, and the question of who will pay for it, and Trump didn't answer that Mexico will pay for it. But this is a different kind of official discussing this morning. I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Emmanuel Ozomena, public policy consultant, for coming to shed light on this issue. It's an ongoing development, no doubt about that. But then, this is what we're living it on Global Morning today. My colleague, Queen Agaba, and I are extremely grateful to you for your time. We also thank our guests who made our time to be here this morning. Quick caveat to say that the views and thoughts of our guests are their opinions, and we respect those thoughts and views as well. And that's Global Morning for you today. I am Uyag Mofwegbe. We will see you again. Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies to, for sure.
If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
When you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve the struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.